こんにちは。
はい。
今日は先生にギリガン先生にお伺いをしたいと思いますけれども、今年の2013年の9月から、国際ジェネラティブチェンジ協会っていうのをスタートされるとお伺いしました。ギリガン先生とそれからディルツ先生の2人で、その協会を立ち上げるということになったんですけども、それはどんな協会になるんでしょうか。
Dr. Gilligan, I hear that starting from September, you are starting the International Association of Generative Change with Mr. Robert Dills. Would you talk about that association?
Well, I think it's probably started before September. Robert Dilts and I have been working together over the last 10 or 15 years in addition to our individual work. And this work in our respective fields has come to this really good place where we've decided to really collaborate in a much deeper way and form this group that we call the International Association for Generative Change. And it's a group whose purpose is to train people and to spread ideas and to bring ideas about creative consciousness and application in many different areas, from personal development to business to education to psychotherapy and so forth. So as part of that, Robert and I have developed this 15-day basic certification course. And the certification course is in generative coaching. So as you know, since you're the sponsor, one of the first places that we are doing this is here in Japan, in Tokyo. That, as you say, will start in September.
この団体が先生2人で作られるという、もう世界的にもすごいことになっていると思うんですけれども、それを第1回日本でやれるってすごいと思いますね。でそのジェネラティブな本当の人生を生きていくということをこの日本という国からやっていくっていうのは本当には意味があることだというふうに思います。そして、もう一人アラスター・プレンティスさんと一緒にこのジェネラティブコーチングのコースを、一緒にやっていくんですけども、その国際ジェネラティブチェンジ協会を今度日本で立ち上げるということになっていきますので、今までずっとホロン PBI でやってきたことをジェネラティブチェンジ協会で、そのままやっていこうということになりました。日本にどんなイメージ、どんなふうに思っていらっしゃいますかね、日本でやることに対して。
It's great that we are starting international association, and it's wonderful and great pleasure for us that we are having this generative coaching training in Japan. And we are setting up the Japanese part version of this Japanese office of the generative Change Work Association, and we will be hosting your training under that name.
Right.
So, do you have any comment about this workshop in Japan and also about this chapter in Japan?
Well, I'm happy, and I know Robert Dilts is happy that we are collaborating with you, and we hope it is a long and successful collaboration that we do with you to bring these ideas into Japan at many different levels. Robert and I have been working for, strange for me to say, but almost 40 years now in terms of how to help people make creative change in many different ways. So what the course represents is a sort of the crystallization of that 40 years for him and 40 years of me into this process that we're calling generative coaching. we have designed the certification to be as practical as possible in terms of developing the skills and the abilities as well as the theoretical understanding so that you can be able to do this work of creative consciousness with other people and with yourself in some very deep and powerful ways. So the course, the 15 days as we're doing it here, of course, has 4 modules. Robert and I will be doing the first 3 days and the last 4 days together, and then one of us will do 1 4-day and the other will do another 4 days. And what we'll be exploring is the sense of what's the nature of creative consciousness, what we can, how we can connect with creative consciousness to really lead these very powerful lives, both personally and in our social communities as professionals. And what the generative coaching work does is it identifies the 5 general steps by which this work is implemented. Those 5 general steps, some of them are common to coaching, like how do you develop the goals and intentions. The second step is unique, I think, to this work, is what does it mean to develop a creative state so that you can put these ideas into action and make them realized. So we take a lot of time to focus on how to develop that generative or that creative state in other people, and at the same time how to develop it in yourself as a coach. The third step that we cover in the training is how do you develop plans for action, how do you make sure that you take those actions, and then how do you flexibly adjust to whatever feedback you're getting, because however you start out, whatever your plans are, the plans meet the reality of the situation, and they always require some creative shifting. So that's the third step, is taking action. The fourth general step is something that I think is also unique to generative coaching, which is how do you transform the inevitable obstacles that arise in living a creative life. These obstacles can be internal, they can be beliefs, they can be negative experience that you're carrying from yourself or your family or your culture. They can be negative obstacles that you encounter in the world, people who don't want to support what you're doing or engage with hostility. So it's a real art to creative consciousness about how do you use creative nonviolence to deal with these significant obstacles that arise. So that's the fourth step that we cover. And then the fifth step and final step is something that, again, I think is unique to generative coaching, which is how do you make sure that you help people develop the life practices that are needed to continue to improve your state and to continue to grow your consciousness, that is necessary to continue to excel and to change and to perform at very, very high levels. So the training covers that method and that process. So by the end of the training, to certify people, which we'll be doing, we will work to ensure that people have a basic mastery of those skills.
ありがとうございます。日本からこういうのが始まるというので、ぜひこの世界を変えていくような運動になっていくと思いますので、ぜひ皆さんもいらしてください。ありがとうございます。
ありがとう。